Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of Late Night Q&A with ZodWriter. I am ZodWriter, and along with me tonight is my co-host from a long time ago, Victoria. Welcome, Victoria. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm so happy to see you and be here. I can't believe it's been so long.
it's been a long time. I mean, we've been trying to work this out for a little while. There were a few times I thought we were gonna do this earlier in the year, and then like we ended up finally coming here, and I'm so excited because this is Late Night Q&A. This is a show I've been doing for a while now. This is episode 27, and I'm super excited that you're here tonight because you are who I consider to be the best co-host I ever had on when I was doing radio. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to find my virtual socks. And I've said this to people many, many times because you were always there, to pick me up at a time when, if I would run out of things to say, you would know exactly where to like slide in and pick it all up. And I can't thank you enough for that and for what you always did.
Well, you did a lot for me as well. I was in not the best place when we started doing the couple of shows that we did together, and you really helped me get out of myself and kind of focus on other stuff, which which also brought in a lot of stuff for me because it's like things I didn't know I actually was interested in. I'm now a completely Marvel nerd because of you.
Well, no. Let's correct that for the audience. You are a DC nerd. You absolutely love Harley Quinn, and you are absolutely a DC nerd.
I'm also a DC nerd.
I'm going to preface this by saying that I was a huge part of the Release the Snyder Cut movement a couple of years ago, in which we fought for a few years to get Zack Snyder's Justice League released.
Oh, I remember that because it was so cut up, and I'm so glad you got it out there because
it worked. We got it. It worked. It worked. We got a 4-hour epic film, and now we're fighting to restore the Snyderverse. So that's something else that's been going on. But I can honestly say that I've really, really missed doing live streams with you because I remember or radio shows because I remember one particular show. I remember we had on this Iraq war veteran, Ashton Williams, and I uploaded the show. We had him on twice, and I uploaded the second show that we had with him together on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
And people seem to respond well to it. They liked the episode, but I was reminded of back when you and I were doing that interview. And I keep remembering all the times that like I would get tongue-tied, I would get stuck. And you would know, and you know me so well that you would know when to just come in and say something, even if at that moment you weren't thinking that was exactly the thing to do, or that even if you didn't know, you would just know when to like pick me up. And that's one of the things that made us such a good team because I felt like we played off of each other. And one of the biggest compliments that I got was from somebody online who had said, Zod, you guys could really do your show professionally. You could really do professional radio because it's not like you guys sit there and swear all the time, and you play off of each other really, really well. You do a very competent show, and you guys seem to know what you're talking about. You can basically talk about any topic, and that to me always meant a lot because it was at a time when it was you and I doing it. It wasn't me with anyone else. Mm-hmm. And I've had many co-hosts over the years, but you were the one that stuck and was the one that was always there and was the co-host that from the moment you took over after Twinny left the show, when you took over, it was just like I never looked back, and I never felt like I ever needed another
Oh,
co-host again. And
well,
that
thank
was
you.
that was the reason why the show was so successful, because we played off of each other so well, and that was something that nobody could replicate.
Well, I always felt like, I am actually not. I know it comes off that I'm an you know, out there person, but I am actually quite shy. So, sometimes it was really hard to do that, but I'm like, dead air is dead space, and we don't want that. And
Right, never.
and
Never,
so,
you never want that air.
yeah, exactly. So I always felt like, oh gosh, am I asking something stupid, or I'm just, being filler? But I figured at least if I did either one, that would help, the show. Right, like I mean, you're very versed in most of the guests we had. I necessarily wasn't always, so I would usually stick to more generic questions and things like that.
But see, you had a way of asking those generic questions that made it entertaining. Like could be generic without being generic, which is something I always appreciated. Like, I'll never forget, because I had just recently, a couple days ago, I was on a live stream with a friend of mine. Shout out to the ambassador and Lord Koj. I was on a stream with them a couple days ago. We were talking about the movie Akira, and I brought up the fact that you and I had interviewed Jan Rapson, the voice actor who did the voice of Tetsuo in the Streamline Pictures English dub from the early 80s, for the mid 80s.
I remember that.
And we had, and you and I did that interview, and it was, for lack of a better word, it was a very, very awkward interview. We asked a lot of good questions, and we had a lot of, we did have engagement with him, but at some point it just got to a real awkward stage.
Yes, it did.
And we just decided to, at that point, okay, it was cool to move on. I think the thing that had moved us with that interview was, he had mentioned something about being in, and I don't know if you remember, he had mentioned something about being
an artist now,
taking up sculpting.
Yes, I remember that. And no, I don't want to talk about it.
And you asked him, you said, what type of sculpting are you doing? What are you into now? What is it? Can you talk a little bit about it? I remember you had asked him, and he was just like, yeah, very, 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 very casually, just casually and calmly responded, I really can't talk about that right now. So I don't know if it was because he was doing, penis sculptures, or if he was doing
that was the worst. That was the worst moment. There was dead air there. I remember, because I was just, I couldn't ask any more questions, because I literally was sitting on this side of my computer going, he just said he's not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And we have nothing left to talk about, because we did all about the voice acting, and
we'd like covered his entire career up to that point, and like he had told us things about like some of the other movies he was in, like he had done like some stuff with like Toy Story and a few other like ancillary characters that he'd played over the years, and we were just like,
where do we go from here?
Where do we go from here? Once he put the kibosh on the sculpting questions, it was just kind of like it wasn't really going anywhere after that.
I didn't know where to go after that, because right. You were actually the one who had the most information on his voice career, and then he was very. I also remember he wasn't truly happy with his interactions during his voice career. So
right, because he had said that he had made a comment that baffled me. He had said that he'd never been invited to an actual anime convention or anything since voicing Tetsuo in Akira. And I just thought that was criminal, because I'm like, dude, yes. I grew up watching this movie. I've loved this movie literally all my life. And this guy, I'd always wanted to meet him and always wanted to talk to him. And then to hear that he had such a horrible, horrible situation.
Yeah, I felt so bad for him.
I felt so bad for him, but I swear to God, I loved that interview, because that interview was another example of just how you and I know each other well enough to where whenever there's any kind of dead air or quietness, I mean, he almost got us on the sculpting thing, but we were able to pick up and continue on as though we were. I mean, and that's one of the things that we've always been able to do, whether when we hit a bump and we just pick ourselves back up and just keep rolling. And that's what you had to do back then, because that was radio. And again, you didn't want to have the dead air. And, at some point, if you're getting to a point where you think you're going to have dead air, the best thing to do is just like cut to a commercial or play a song or something. But really with him, it was just one of those things where I felt so bad for him. And I remember I was kind of broken up at the end of the show, like, oh my God, I can't believe they treated this man like this. And it just ruined my whole day. But I was still glad that we had the interview. I was still glad that we got to talk to him.
He was a really interesting person. Like he had a really
and he was a nice guy too.
Yeah.
I mean, he genuinely liked being there, and it was cool and that's why I say if more people maybe would have invited him to conventions and stuff, maybe he would have been able to open up about his sculpting and whatever other artistic things he's doing.
But anime is so popular. I don't understand why he wasn't asked.
Yeah, especially at that point. I just
don't get it. Yeah,
I think he was, and then he kind of went into because they ended up redubbing it years later when they remastered the movie. They redubbed it, and the new cast that they dubbed was the ones that are the ones that tend to get invited now. That kind of thing. He mentioned that, and I thought about it because I think I watched the new dub maybe once or twice, and I never watched it again because I wasn't really a fan of that dub because I grew up with
the other one that
he was in. So I don't know. I'm just but I just bring that up because it's such a good example of where you and I are when it comes to being able to follow through as a good host and co-host on a show like that. And we had some rough ones. We really did.
Yeah, we did. Like sometimes it was just like, the whole experience. Like it's like you get off the show and you're like, thank God it's over. And I didn't feel that often that way. I mean, most of them I was actually, I felt you broadened my horizon in a lot of ways. But yeah, there was a couple where it's just like, okay, this needs to end and it needs to end now. And we still have 30 minutes left. And that was always a bit hard. But for the most part, I thought we always had some good guests. And I can't remember his name, so please forgive me. But I think one of the best shows we had was the gentleman from, I believe he was living in Japan or Hong Kong, and he was a fighter.
Oh, Hong Kong! You're talking about Bay Logan.
Yes, Bay Logan. Thank you.
I had Bay Logan on again after you had departed, and I remember Bay Logan asking me about you. He had actually remembered you, and he said, "Hey Zod, where's Victoria?" He said that the first thing when he came on, and I'm thinking about, well, you know what? We'll get him again. I've maintained a good relationship with Bay Logan over the years. Mm-hmm. We'll get him on again, and we'll talk to him again. It'll be nice. It would be nice to reconnect with Bay Logan.
Yeah, he was an amazing guest. Both, I think we actually interviewed him twice.
We interviewed him twice, and then I had him on a third time. I had him on after you left, and we talked some more, and we maintained connections, and I know I was cool. I know I'm cool with Bay Logan when a year or so later, he sends me a happy birthday text, and I'm just like, wow, this is Bay Logan wishing me happy birthday. And I love Bay Logan. I mean, I listened to all his commentaries for all for all the Hong Kong movies that I love, and he's such a great
Yeah,
guy.
I
So
remember the
informative.
first time too. We interviewed him. You were a bit in awe. You were just like you're a little
I
bit
couldn't
of
believe we were talking to him. Honestly, he was so nice and just genuinely down to earth guy. Like that's one of the things that I love about every single person that you and I interviewed together. Not one of the people that you and I have interviewed together has ever refused to return. If I message them on Facebook or whatever and say, "Hey, I'm doing a show, would you like to come?" They never say no. And I've always taken that as a testament to us being as kind and as open to people as we can possibly be.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and I've continued to carry that on over the years, because I want people to feel welcomed when they come to my channel, the same way they were feeling welcome when they were on the show back when we were doing it on PSN.
I think one of my favorite shows actually was the Jen and the Hologram show with
Oh my
Samantha
God, with
Newmark.
Samantha Newark. Oh my
Oh yeah,
God.
she was amazing.
She was a wonderful, wonderful guest. I absolutely love her. And we also interviewed, remember we interviewed Larry Kenny, the guy that voiced Lionel from the Thundercats?
Yes,
Oh
that one always sticks with me. I think of that one every time when there's a specific episode. I love The Big Bang Theory. I watch it a lot. Just it calms me down. And there's one where Leonard's like trying to date this girl, and they're looking at pictures on the couch. And she's like, "What are you?" And he's like, "I'm Lino from Thundercats." I always think of that show.
And this is the thing, man. I mean, we've interviewed so many cool people. I mean, I honestly, and it's always so funny because I remember you were dating this guy one time, and I remember when we got Ua Bowl, director Ua Bowl on our show. And I remember you telling me, my boyfriend is giving me so much crap about us interviewing this guy, because Ua Bowl had such a reputation, for being like this, this maverick movie director, and like we had so much, but he was another one. I mean, I remember we had to adjust our schedule and do it and do the interview on. It was like a weekend thing we had to do, because he was like, he's in Germany.
Yeah.
No. He was in Canada at the time. He was in Vancouver, Canada at the time. And we adjusted our schedule so that we could talk to him.
Yeah. No, that was a good one too. Like we really have had, like, there's no one to me that stands out as being, a bad person, to be honest. Like, I can't think of one single person we interviewed who I thought was not a good person. Like, we really were fortunate that way. Like, there were certain times where it's like, okay, people, we need to talk more, but there was never one person who I felt was like, "Oh, you're a total asshole and I want to leave." I'm not know if I can I swear?
And we never had that though. We never had that.
We didn't.
On that show.
I can't remember anybody on that show that I disliked ever. The only thing I did have is I also had some issues with some of the people. Like Samantha Newark was a bit of a like, oh my God, I'm meeting her. And so you're kind of a little starstruck. And sometimes that's tough. Right?
Yeah,
because
Samantha was tough for me, because I absolutely grew up loving that cartoon. I was just like the ultimate. I was a fanboy. I had the biggest crush on Jem and the Hologram. And to actually get to meet her and actually have her on a show for like 2 hours talking about the show.
Oh yeah,
was
and
just,
then the fact I remember she shared all her music with us.
Yeah, because she's a musician in her own right. She's put out albums and stuff. Yeah, I mean, she's got a career.
Have it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have it all. Yeah, no, that was probably one of my favorite episodes, to be honest, because I was just like, yeah, I was the same way. I'm like, oh my god, I'm eating jam.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
how can you not?
I want some star earrings.
Right. She just looked, and she just sounded great. And she just comes out, sounds exactly like she did when she was doing the cartoon, hasn't aged a day. It's like, man,
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
man, I'm going to just, just going to sit here and just dwell on this moment for a time. And she would be somebody to get again. And
Oh,
this
and
is,
I'm sure she would. She was
I'm
so
sure she would too. She's so much fun.
yeah, she is.
She's still,
So
I think we're both still friends with her on Facebook. So
yeah, I think so too. I think
I
she's
think we
still
could.
my
I think we
friend.
could. I think we could make that happen. I mean, it wouldn't be difficult. But I'm at the point now where I just feel like we've done so we did so much when we were on the radio.
Yeah, you were very, very, I thought, very ahead of your time for what you were doing at that time. Like, it was when the community was kind of like a little smaller. Like now, because of COVID, everyone and their brother has a podcast. But
Right.
you've been doing it for so long, and you're just very, very talented at it.
Well, thank you, and I attribute a lot of that to you, to having you there to be able to talk to, because I can honestly say that one of the worst things about doing a show by yourself is just sitting there rambling on and on and on for 2 hours and not having anybody to conversate with.
Yeah,
Some of the best, most well-known radio hosts ever always had somebody that they owe as much to in terms of being able to talk to and being able to bounce off ideas. If you're just sitting there talking to yourself, it's difficult. But like now, it's a little bit easier because you have the chat. So
yes,
you
yes.
you interact with the chat, and people will be interested in what you're talking about. Like yesterday, last week when I had Roberto on, it was amazing because Roberto and I ended up talking for a good 30 or 40 minutes before people started trickling into the chat. I
Okay.
think we'd started the show a little bit early, much like today. I think today, because we started a little bit early, a lot of people started trickling into the chat a little bit later, and then the chat started to fill up, and then you were kind of able to defer to the chat with questions and different things. So that's what kind of happens with these like late night live streams.
Mm-hmm.
I find the later that it gets, the more people that you have.
Well, I mean, I also think like we did a lot of different shows together. Like there was quite a few shows, and I mean, there was also Cyber Love Talk when we were talking about earlier, which was quite an interesting show, and we had some amazing guests there too. Like,
I will say this, when we talk about Cyber Love Talk, being a show about sex and relationships, it really was unique at the time.
yeah,
And what saddens me about Cyber Love Talk is that nowadays that show probably wouldn't fly. We would say things on that show, the stuff we would talk about. I feel like if we did Cyber Love Talk now, which would essentially be, because we tried rebooting it once, so
Yeah.
this would essentially be Cyber Love Talk 3.0 if we decided to bring it back. And if we ever brought Cyber Love Talk back, we would be so watered down and neutered, for lack of a better word.
Oh yeah.
And it was a wild show. Hey, Koopy, what's going on? Koopy Malik says hello, Zod and Victoria. Hey, Koopy, good to
Hello.
see you, man. And Koopy asked the $1 million question.
Oh no.
Love Talk. So yes, Cyber Love Talk was essentially an internet radio show about sex and relationships that Victoria and I did with a few other co-hosts. At one point there was 5 females on the show, and there was me. I was the only guy. I like to say,
Yeah,
when it
he
comes
was
to
in heaven.
I like to say that when I like to refer to myself, back in the Cyber Love Talk days as kind of like the dick in the middle, kind of.
Oh, God.
Essentially, I was just the one guy amongst this sea of like amazing women. I mean, every single one of the women on the show was fantastic. They all had, their own views on different things, and it was and there was a lot, believe it, there was a lot of clashing and stuff that went on with that show. I wouldn't even know how to market that show nowadays if we were to try to bring it back. It would be tough.
Yeah, well, you know what? Also, I think it's, with people doing more stuff with, our images online. Like, we were a little bit freer in that time because it was just a podcast. It wasn't a podcast with pictures.
Very true.
Yeah,
very true. And that's how it would be if we were to redo it. It would not have pictures. It would just be, it would go back. It would be a podcast. We could essentially redo Cyber Love Talk from square one, since the original show no longer exists. We could literally come at it from that perspective, because in a lot of ways, Victoria, Cyber Love Talk was ahead of its time too.
It was too. I really regret when that show kind of.
I regret it. I regret it more than anything, because I feel like if we were still doing Cyber Love Talk right now, I think we would have been making a living. And I sincerely mean that. And the reason I mean that is because we were getting endorsements from, you guys just didn't realize. Listen, at the time that dreaded, this is the thing I'm about to tell you, and I'm about to say it on air. This is the first time I've ever said this. But at the time when Cyber Love Talk had gotten taken down, I was getting messages from companies that produce devices and adult-oriented products about possibly endorsing the show.
Oh, are you kidding me?
And what ended up happening is, when that happened, I was still getting messages about that after the show had been taken down. And when we lost the show, I just was like, I don't know what to do.
Too. Yeah,
and I had no idea, but that's why I say right now, if that show was still going on, we started that show back in 2013, 2012, 2013.
Like that.
If we were still doing it today, Victoria, I'm telling you, the show would be like, it'd be on TV. It would be freaking insane. We probably would have endorsements from all sorts of like men's health magazines, women's health magazines, freaking like
you be the new Dr. Ruth male version.
Listen, we were onto something. It was
we were
beautiful. It was like there was so much personality that at that point in time, I think there was a company, and I cannot remember the name of the company to save my life, but there was a company that had products that literally was like, we want to start sending you these products so that you guys can review these products.
I do remember. They wanted us to do an endorsement like for their products, so they were willing to send us everything for free.
Everything. And it would have been, oh my God. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm getting nostalgic, because I was talking to Georgina. I had Georgina on the ZodWriter show a couple weeks ago, and Georgina was just like, Georgina hasn't aged a day, by the way. You look at Georgina; she looks younger on video than she does in the pictures I used for the thumbnail for the show she was on. She looks amazing, and we were talking about Cyber Love Talk. I think she brought it up because we started talking about all the collaborations we did, and she talked a little bit about the theme song. I had mentioned you guys they did the theme song for Cyber Love Talk, because at one point we were using the song Cyber I think it was Cybersex from Lord of Acid as our theme.
Yeah.
And basically we were afraid that Feisty
come
had
after
picked
us.
that. We were afraid they were going to come after us for that. So I went to Georgina and said, "Hey, would it be possible for you and one of your collaborators to put together a little theme for us?" And there was this song that she did with a rapper named K-Sai, and her and K-Sai collaborated literally on the greatest theme song ever for that show.
You have to post it. I can't remember.
I wish I could find it. But it was like, I think the lyrics were something like, "I love the way you put it down on me. The way you put it down on me." Yeah, remember? And you remember now? Does that ring a bell? So that was what it was. And it was such a good theme, and it just totally fit with the it was, and Koopy wants to know, Cyber Love Talk, it's like podcast for couple counseling. Not really couple counseling. It was more about exploring yourself sexually.
Yeah.
And
to cut to the chase, it was more about getting off.
It was more about right. The name we used to call Cyber Love Talk Clit for short, CLT. We used to call it Clit for short. So essentially, it was more about that than anything else. But as it grew, because we did it for years, so as it grew, it eventually turned more into what you're talking about here, Koopy. It eventually evolved into more of a couples kind of thing. But still, it's hard to say because it really was unique. I have to say it was unique. It was unique. There
was also some things with coupling. Like I actually brought people onto the show that I was technically dating in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one particular show though where and obviously I'm not with this person anymore, but I remember I got off the air. We all got off the air, obviously. And it was some interesting talk about certain things that maybe aren't necessarily mainstream for most people. But we got off the episode, and both Zod and another co-host were like, "He's an idiot. You have to drop him now." So
oh yeah, because that was the episode where he was so it was all fetishized.
It was an. I'm just gonna go with Mr. M. But I think you remember who he was.
Yeah.
I remember we got off.
Oh my God. It was ridiculous. And the guy was just so full of himself. I mean, he had machismo coming out of his ears.
Oh yeah.
And he had it to spare on top of it.
But
it was just crazy.
It was so funny that immediately once we ended the podcast, you were just like, both you and our coworker at the time were just like, you have to lose that. He's got to go.
That guy's got to go. So, I literally was like, okay, listen, this is just enough. Like we had so much. I would say too, that show, the one episode that I do have a copy of, because I sent it. You remember? You remember Lorraine LaGrasso? She was a guest we interviewed. She's a musician and she's a comedian. She does all kinds of things. We interviewed her, and I'm probably going to try to reach out to her so that we can have her on together one of these days.
Okay.
But I sent her the Dolphin Love episode of Cyber Love Talk.
Oh gosh.
So the Dolphin Love episode of Cyber Love Talk has survived. I do have it. So unfortunately though, I don't have very many more. I think because of a hard drive crash, I lost the majority of the episode.
That's so sad.
But there are a couple episodes that have survived. The Dolphin one, and I think the very first episode that me and Feisty Brunette did. I think
Oh,
we
okay.
did. And it was a, I want to say, that got the very first episode. Like, I think it is like the very first episode. I think we might have it, but Dolphin Love Ryan,
Survive.
Dolphin Love survived. Ryan Zieverfed is one of my favorite people online. Ryan is such a great dude. So I got to give shouts out to Ryan Zieverfed right here, because he's a great dude. You'd really like him, Victoria. You really would. Ryan is tops.
Well, maybe Dolphin Love wasn't the best name. Maybe Porpoise Play would have been.
I don't know. Maybe Porpoise Play, but I think we actually called the episode Dolphin Love.
Yeah, we did call
if
it.
I remember correctly. Listen, that episode. The idea was that it. Oh my God, that episode! Not only was that episode hilarious, but it was one of the best episodes we ever did.
It was so funny.
That and the Bert and Ernie episode. Listen, on the Bert and Ernie episode, I gotta tell you right now. The Bert and Ernie episode. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, head of our time.
You know what? Honestly, Victoria, to hell with this. We got to start Cyber Love Talk back next week. We got to do it. just talking about it again is just like getting me thinking about like all the things that we covered on that show. My God, man, that show was
it was pretty brilliant. I gotta say, it was pretty awesome.
And not only that, the name is catchy as hell too. We had and it's no wonder we had people wanting to endorse us, because it really was a good show, and the products that people wanted to send us would have been unique from both a male and a female perspective, to say the least. I mean, I'm gonna say that if I were to be back doing that show, I think that show with you guys would be better than ever if we were to come back and do it.
Oh, I do too. I really think that there would be a lot of opportunity there. I just don't know if that ship has sailed, right?
Well, no, I don't think it has. I don't think it has, because here's the thing. Last time I talked to Amorza, who was another female on the show. She had actually told me that if we were interested in starting it back up, that she would be willing to come back.
Oh, really?
And that was something that I was really shocked, and I've got the DMs to prove it. Now, I'm really shocked to hear that, because if she were to, if she were to willing to come back, and you were willing to come back, and Feisty was willing to come back, we'd be the originals, and we could do that show. Now, I would not be opposed to it. We would, of course, do it off camera. And we'd
have to label it a certain way.
And we could do it live. That would be fine. We could do it live. We'd have chat. We could do it live, but we would have to have a parental advisory label attached to every thumbnail, because we'd want to make sure.
No one gets in.
And I want to give a big hello. I want to give a big hello to the beautiful Belle Reeve. Belle Reeve is one of the most awesome people that I've ever had the privilege of meeting over doing this DC YouTube stuff. Belle Reeve is amazing. She's, oh my God. I can't say enough positive things about Belle. She's just wonderful. And she says, smash that like button. So yeah, Belle, you are awesome. Thank you so much. Oh my God. I've met so many great people doing this kinds of stuff that I'm overloaded with just like love in my heart, because there's so many great people. And again, when I think back at Cyber Love Talk, and I think back of us doing the ZodWriter show, I just feel like we could do all of that again. It could be resurrected in a way that, and in a way it never died, because essentially, even though I'm not on PSN-RADIO anymore, well, nobody is, because there is no more PSN-RADIO.
Oh, that's a shame. I didn't know that.
But Yeah, PSN Radio closed its doors. I want to say middle of last year, and I had made the transition prior to that. I'd
Smart.
made the transition over to YouTube because I wanted to transform my platform.
Yeah.
And because I was hanging out with a lot of YouTubers, you know, and when you hang out with a lot of YouTubers and you appear on a lot of YouTube streams, it kind of gets in your blood and you get energized and you want to be a part of that. And I was never somebody, Victoria, who really wanted to be on video. I always considered myself to be a radio guy, not because I, you know, I'm scared to be on camera, but just because I prefer the audio medium, and I always have. So
I kind of like that part as well, a little bit of the anonymity. I mean, this is a little more public, right? So it's a little bit more challenging.
The Q&A show, it's beautiful. And I'm very, like, I can't thank you enough for just being here with me tonight because it feels like old times. And I knew that this was going to be one of those episodes where we just kind of reminisced about the previous things, the previous projects we've done, because I think, and I don't know about you, but I really believe that there's a good opportunity for us to come back again. And in that way, I think we can bring Cyber Love Talk back. And I would be more than willing to endorse it and be back with it again. I think it's important now more than ever before. Because people just don't, it's like people are so repressed nowadays. And it's very, very, very difficult. You know, people are dealing with all of these questions about themselves and are figuring, you know, and it's like, you know, sexuality seems to have be frowned upon, and there's statistics out there that are saying that less and less couples are even having sex anymore. It's really it would really be a good time to bring that show back. I don't know about you, but I think we could do it. I don't know.
I'll, you know what, if Amoris is in, then maybe I'm in. I don't know about Feisty. I don't know if she'd ever be in again, but
hey, I'm not making any promises, and I think, and again, this is something, Cyber Love Talk is something we're going to all have to talk about behind the scenes if it's going to come
exactly.
back.
I think,
but I just I'm putting it out there publicly that I would like to bring that show back because I think it could work.
I'm not unopposed to doing that. I just think it's so funny that, you know, it really actually could, you know, what you just said made a lot of sense to me because, you know, people are oppressed and people are really sad. Like, it's not the greatest time, right, in our history, right? There's a lot of stuff going on in the background that kind of is stressing people out. And I mean, just for myself, like, I'm not seeing anyone. I have no desire to see anyone because I've been in the house for a year and a half. I'm just finally getting back out. And but like I think there's a lot of people who would do well understanding themselves versus looking for someone else.
Well, let's just put it this way. Cyber Love Talk was a very self-gratifying show.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways. Oh my God! Do you remember the Christmas specials that we did? Do you remember the Christmas specials?
Oh gosh!
I'm just saying. I mean, I listen. I'm very you know. I don't know. I think logistically it could totally work, and it just depends on how we choose to go about it. But my God, if we put that out, if we come out and we do one episode of Cyber Love Talk,
and
I think it'll blow up. I think we'll be set. Koopy Malik says, ZodWriter, Cyber Love Talk Cyber Love Talk show, that sounds kind of original. It's very original. We came up with it, and we were ahead of our time with that. I mean, honestly, because there were not a lot of shows like that, and there were definitely not a lot of shows on PSN like that. I mean, that was the one show on PSN that had like
we had a lot of people like logging in.
My God, we had the PSN servers were overloading. We'd have so many people tuning into that show. That's how big that show was. And a lot of times we would do that show. We would do that show live. We would do that show live more often than pre-recorded. Yeah. But even when it was pre-recorded, you'd get people that would tune in big time, and it was a phenomenal achievement on PSN Radio. Koopy Malik says guarantees satisfaction. Tune in to ZodWriter Cyber Love Talk. Hey, listen, it's my only hesitation about doing it, and there really is no hesitation because I have a great YouTube platform now. We've got plenty of subscribers. We could put out the content. It wouldn't be hard. The only hurdle whatsoever would just be getting everybody on board and on the same page, getting a time that we were going to do it consistently, getting a day of the week and a time that works well for everyone. That's really the only hurdle I think we will have as far as doing it. As far as putting out the actual content and doing the show, not a problem.
Well, yeah, it was always a great show. It was always very entertaining.
Right.
I'll leave it that way.
to say the least. To say the least. I mean, I used to be like, it's like people used to ask me, Zod, how do you do that show every week with all these women, and how do you maintain your composure? And I used to say, it's all about being a professional. Don't you understand? If you can be professional and you can do a show like Cyber Love Talk, you can do anything.
Well, we did talk about a lot of hardcore stuff. Like, we really nothing was taboo, right? So
nothing was taboo, and the show was definitely not vanilla. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, but if we could get the group back together, I might. That's something.
If we could get the band back together, it will be like a mission from God. And ladies and gentlemen, Cyber Love Talk will return. I just don't see anything. I just don't see anything holding it back, especially because it's virtually impossible for me to resurrect the old episodes. So I would
hate that you lost them all.
Oh my God, I hate it too. The ones that I have, I'm thankful that anything from that era survived at all, because I am literally just, I'm just broken up about that.
Yeah, that makes
sad.
Me a little bit sad, and hearing that PSN is no more also makes me sad. I hope everyone there is, doing okay. I hope they found their other places, not just you, but everyone who is there. So,
yeah. And Koopy Malik says, "I will definitely tune in, Zod." Well, there you go. We got one listener.
Yay!
I know that if we are able to bring that show back in any capacity, we will. If we can bring it back, we'll make it happen. I'm just kind of at the point where I feel like it would be an important show to do, and I don't necessarily think that I don't necessarily think that it'll be hard to get everybody back on, because I think time has. Enough time has passed, and we've all grown as people. And I think, doing the show on a new platform and as a where we kind of have
Maybe it
more
will work, yeah.
control, where we kind of have more control. We don't have to play commercials. We don't have to adhere to any particular time slot. We can kind of set it up for when we want to do it and just try to be as consistent as possible.
Yeah. And can I say I just acted like a 14-year-old boy because you said the word hard and I laughed. We were talking about
well, that was that was cyber love talking in a nutshell. To be honest, I mean, everybody kind of just. I'll never forget my dad. He saw the website for Cyber Love Talk back when we started doing it, and we were sitting there. I was sitting there. I was visiting my parents, and we were sitting on the couch looking. And he saw the website, and he was going through the different episodes, and he's like, "I'm gonna tell your mother every single one he was clicking on. I'm gonna tell your mother." I was laughing. I was like, "Wow, that is awesome!" I'm like, "This is so now the disclaimer at the beginning of every Cyber Love Talk show will be, guys, my mother is watching."
No. No, if we do this show, I mean, my parents aren't on YouTube, but I would still block them. So they can't see anything.
Well, but see that the beauty of Cyber Love Talk is you wouldn't go on camera during Cyber Love Talk.
Yeah.
We never. That was the thing about Cyber Love Talk. Cyber Love Talk is a strictly audio only podcast style show.
Well, just to be, I
mean, I couldn't imagine the five of us being on camera for Cyber Love Talk, all the things that we talk about.
Yeah,
could you imagine like our visual reactions to some of this stuff?
And how many more girlfriends would you end up with? You on camera.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's like there's it was kind of overwhelming back then. I remember we had like. At one point, I remember there was one episode, and I don't know, it might have been like a Christmas episode where we had like 7 women on the show, and I was just kind of like, well, dude, because I remember it was just, and everybody had. I remember the one year where I did like Photoshop posters of every single girl, woman that was on the show. And I did all these posters for everybody that was coming back. And there was one girl who was upset. I think her name was Brandy or something like that. And she was upset because she didn't like the poster that I'd created.
Oh.
And she said that because of the poster that she didn't like, she wasn't going to come and be on the episode. And I was so upset. I was like, "Oh, Brandy, but I'll make a different poster. If you don't like that poster, give me some new ideas. I'll take it down." I ended up taking down I don't think she appeared in the episode, but I was broken. I was brokenhearted though, because I really wanted her to come back to the show. Because number one, she had like one of the sexiest voices I'd ever heard. So I wanted her on the show because her voice was just like amazing. But the thing was that's what it was. She was just like irritated. She's like, "No, I don't like that poster, Zod, and you didn't get my permission to do that poster, so I'm out." Like, oh, well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she didn't make that episode. No,
she didn't make that episode. Koopy Malik said, "Wax on, wax off. No, do this. Hard on, hard off." Oh, okay. And endless one up. What's up, man? Says, "Zod is awesome." Oh, thank you so much. Playing a game with the wife, but showing some love. Oh, thanks, man.
Aww. Appreciate
it. Yeah. I don't know. But I really hope that someday, we'll be vindicated as far as that show goes. And because I don't think we needed, because Cyber Love Talk didn't need anybody's validation. I mean, at that point, we were that show was an entity in and of itself, and it was so good. Like we had so many great things that we focused on. We had so many great things that we were that we were trying to tap into. And I mean, relationships, we had broken it all down. Anything you could think of, we talked about on that show at the time.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I think that was the one thing that was really good about the group of people that we had was some of us were single, some of us were in a relationship, some of us were in and out of a relationship. I'm guilty.
Yeah. It was something else. I mean, I honestly, I find it fascinating, and like one of the people on the show that I found to be most fascinating was Amorza, because she was married at the time. And the lesson that I learned from Amorza from being on Cyber Love Talk is, if you're a freak, you better make sure you marry a freak. That's the only way it's going to work. That's what I learned from Amorza being on the show, because she was like, I mean, my God. It was something.
We really had some vanilla people, we had some freaky people, and then we had some really freaky people.
Well, I remember I was rather vanilla when we started the show.
Yeah,
when we first started the show, I was really like, I couldn't believe my ears. I was like, my God, my virgin ears. Oh.
I remember that
show
too.
was
oh my gosh, he's shocked again. How could he be shocked?
I was shocked. It took me about 4 episodes to get over my shockness.
Yeah, it did.
I was kind of like, the first 4 episodes, I was like, and then by episode 5, like, I was flying on all cylinders with you ladies, because I knew which direction the show was going. So I was like, okay, at that point, everything was going into overdrive.
Had we been on camera, you would have been like.
Had we been on camera, my face would have been red. I don't think I would look like a red light bulb if we'd been on camera.
Well, had we been on camera, I probably wouldn't have said half the things I said, to be honest.
Well, that's why I am preferencing all this Cyber Love Talk stuff by saying, if the show does come back, it won't be on camera. I mean, that's just the reality. Like, it's not going to be on camera for a lot of different reasons, but mainly because of the topics themselves. That's just like, we could sit here on camera and talk about the show, but if we were actually doing the show, it would be a very different scenario.
This would be a very different conversation. So.
And Goopy Malik wants to know, Victoria, what's the craziest topic you'd ever did on the show? That's a good question.
Well, there was a company at the time that wanted us to send us a certain amount of adult toys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the craziest topic we ever did. It was just like where we were talking about potentially getting toys.
Friction was the company. They still follow us on Twitter. I remember. Oh my God, it just fell into my head. Oh my God. Wow. I remember.
Because they offered to send us some toys. And
oh my God, they were great. They were awesome. They were awesome. We even had a voicemail from the promoter or the recruiter for that company that wanted that explained in detail what she wanted. She was like, well, we want to send you these products, and we want to get, we want you guys to review them on the show. Honestly, that's the problem. I'm like, at that point and in time, that's why I say, if we had been doing it for all these years and continued on, I don't think you and I would be here right now. I think we would be in a better place. I really do. Not that where we are right now is necessarily wrong, but I think had we continued on with that show, I think it would have changed our lives. To be completely honest, it's hard. It's hard for me to think about it now, just in that context, because I knew what we were missing out on. Yeah. And they weren't the only company. There were other companies.
Oh, there were other companies, but that one just sticks out of my mind.
But that one sticks in my mind because I think they were the first.
Yeah, they were the ones who wanted to send certain equipment to certain people and certain equipment to other people, and then those people could interact. So that was
right. You basically had interactive fleshlights for men, and then you had interactive devices for females.
So yeah,
it was interesting.
Yeah, it was very, very though, like kind of like wow. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely look at that show as a milestone in and of itself, because I remember talking to the head of PSN-RADIO at the time, the head of the network, because at the time we were doing Cyber Love Talk, and we were doing the ZodWriter show concurrently with each other. And I remember he was saying to me, he's like, I don't know how you can do this. You can't serve two masters. How are you able to do the ZodWriter show where you're basically interviewing celebrities and doing all these major things, and then you're over here doing Cyber Love Talk where it's sensuality based adult sexual orientation. And I'm like, well, it just goes to show that I'm a very diverse guy, and we can do all sorts of different stuff,
Well, I think that there's always sometimes people have a little issue with morality. It's like I mean, so I could see where he was coming from at the time, but you were very good at both, so.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I loved it to death. I loved all of it. And Zeverfett says Zod's fleshlight would be shaped like a lightsaber. Well, maybe it would. I don't know. I mean, we never got to that point, because we essentially, had essentially ended the show right as the offers for endorsements were coming in, and that to me is a tragedy, because that could have helped everybody out at the time. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, I wanted to say at one point, but Amorza, they're offering us endorsements. I mean, come on, they're gonna pay us. Well, what are you talking about? They're gonna pay us. To hell with personalities.
Okay.
To hell with all that. We're gonna get paid.
So we gotta ask okay. So if it's gonna be shaped like a lightsaber, what color would be Zod's color? Let's ask the chat.
That's a good question. What color? What color would my fleshlight lightsaber be? That's the question, chat. Can you tell us what color it would be?
I've got my guess, but I'm going to hold back and see if anyone else answers.
Okay, well, it's so funny because you know me so well. You probably would guess the right color.
Yeah.
And Koopy Malik wants to know, Zeverfett, who would use that? You know what? I don't know. I don't know who would use that. It would all depend, but I mean, a themed one, an Ahsoka themed fleshlight. I don't know. I don't know. An Ahsoka themed Star Wars fleshlight. I mean, come on. Give me a break. I mean, Rosario Dawson, just saying. I mean, let's be honest about this.
Okay,
here.
I don't know if I know you as well as you think I do. I would go with green.
And Koopy Malik goes with green. And Kongs Are Us.
Purple.
B-Kong says purple all the way. B-Kong. Oh my God.
That's a double entendre.
I love you, man. That is awesome, B-Kong.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. Kongs Are Us. Oh man. Wow. Great guess.
Yeah.
And Zeverfett says Dark Saber, aka Black. Zeverfett, brother. I think you're onto something there, because I like my lightsabers like I like my women. Okay.
Oh, Lord.
But I will say that green was a good guess. It definitely was a good guess. And Kongs Are Us says, yeah, you got a Mace vibe. Well, my bald head, that's for sure. My bald head is really on that level. But hey, Zeverfest says, LOL, Koopy, I would just use the Force.
Oh, Funny.
That would be what the first episode of Cyber Love Talk 3.0 would be called. The first episode would be called "Using the Force."
We're just gonna use the Force.
We're just gonna use the Force. I mean, I don't really see what else we could do besides use the Force. I mean, wow. I'm more interested in the roses and the devices they would send you ladies. That's what I would be interested in, because I would really want to know what types of products that they would endorse upon you. And again, you guys, and again, this is how deep that show was. And I remember I created a character on the on Cyber Love Talk where, you know, he had a British accent. And every other sentence he would say, "How deep is your love?" Okay, but we don't have to talk about him right now. All I know is that we're really on the precipice of something. This episode can almost be looked upon as the birth of Cyber Love Talk 3.0. We're setting the stage because Feisty and Amorza, I know you're out there watching this episode. We know you are. So guess what? We are gonna put the ball in your court at this point, as they say. We're gonna put the balls in your court, ladies, because guess what?
Yeah, there seems to be a market. I don't know.
Oh my God. Koopy Malik says Zeverfet using the fleshlight with the Force. That's no Jedi of you. That's not Jedi of you, or maybe Sith for recreational purposes only. You see, but there you go. I mean, you know, with virtual reality, you could already, you know, have all kinds of Star Wars related intergalactic sexual experiences. So essentially, you know, the ability to use the Force is actually there. I mean, my God, man.
Especially for our, you know, all us nerds out there.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. See, you totally get it, Victoria. It's not about, you know, it's not about even, you know. That's why I say, well, gee, is it the questions earlier about the show being about, you know, health and counseling for couples, and no, not really. It's I love how you put it. No, it's actually more about just you know, getting yourself off.
You just reminded me of another Big Bang episode where Leonard's dating Raj's sister, and she puts on the Lieutenant Uhura outfit, and she's like, you know,
I always wanted to see Amorza in a Lieutenant Uhura outfit.
Well, that would work. She would do very well in that, but I just remember that episode because it was so funny because he was like, you know, like open the pod doors and prepare for inspection. It was just
yeah.
I don't know if you saw that episode.
Like from the scene in Wrath of Khan where Captain Kirk goes and he's inspecting the Enterprise. Yep. And Zeverfet says, "I'm all about that dark side. Call me Han Solo." Listen, man, I gotta be honest. I gotta be honest with you, man. Technology is making going to the dark side and being Han Solo a whole heck of a lot easier and a lot more palatable. Now I'm not saying that it replaces the real thing, because we've talked about that numerous times on that show, but the reality is that it's getting pretty good. I was telling Victoria off air, if a real human to human sexual experience is a 10 out of 10, then the virtual experiences that they're creating now with all of the equipment and things you can use are like a 7 out of 10. And that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's serviceable. That will do the job at a pitch. So going to the dark side and being called Han Solo, really doesn't.
Yeah, it's very possible.
Very possible.
Especially with Amazon. One day shipping.
Hey, listen, it is what it is. I'm at the point where, essentially we are, my God, we are like totally giving these people a preview of how Cyber Love Talk would be normally on a week-to-week
Well, we're
basis if
being a
that was the
lot
kind of show we would
cleaner,
do.
to be
Well, of
honest.
course we have to be. We're not gonna sit here and be live on video being filthy as hell. I mean, that would be terrible. Like you're just sitting here like, oh yeah, I want the video to
Yeah,
get pulled
yeah,
down.
yeah.
Hey, this is late night Q&A after all, right? I mean,
Oh my gosh, you're
I don't
so
know.
funny. But yeah, no, I mean it's kind of a preview, it's kind of, this has really been a lot of fun, to be honest. Like I really feel like, I have missed being on the show with you. So this has been like really an awesome time.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, like, yeah, when we were doing this a long time ago. So
Yeah, I mean, we did it long enough for how many years? I know, and we did it. I think you left. I would say what 2018, early
around
2018
there,
or
yeah,
something.
and
I
around
did
there.
somewhere around there, and we had been doing it. We had been doing it up to that point. Not Cyber Love Talk, because Cyber Love Talk ended. I want to say, God, I can't even remember the year now because all the episodes are gone. But
Oh,
it was
that makes me so sad.
it was I think Cyber Love Talk ended in like I want to say 2015.
Yeah, it was definitely earlier.
And then
Yeah, it's just, real
mm,
life gets in the way sometimes of
yeah,
doing
I
stuff
want to
like
say
that.
that's probably what it was. But listen, that show was incredible. But we also were together on the ZodWriter show on PSN-RADIO,
Yeah.
and at one point we decided we were going to change the name of the show to the Joseph and Victoria Show, and we had begun working on that. We did one episode as the Joseph and Victoria Show, and then Victoria had other things that had to go on, and Victoria
Yeah.
couldn't do the show anymore. So I really think that this is a chance for us to basically come back and do what we do, which is talk about everything. That's what we always did, whether it be the ZodWriter show or Cyber Love Talk. I literally forgot the name of the show right now. Papa Brad's Gaming says hi, B Kong and Koopy Malik. What's up, Papa Brad? Hi to you, brother. And my good friend Buttersoft says hi, Zod and Victoria. Hello, Buttersoft. I hope you are having a wonderful evening. You are such an awesome person. Buttersoft is so phenomenal. She was on Late Night Q&A with ZodWriter a couple weeks ago. We had a really nice show. We had a really nice chat. It was awesome. And, I'm super excited because, that was a really fun show too. And I've been telling Buttersoft for over 2 weeks. I've been telling her, Victoria's coming back. Victoria's coming back. I've been talking about Victoria coming back for a long time. I've been so excited because when I reached out, I told her I reached out to you and I can't wait for you to come back. And I was just so excited. I was telling my dad about it. I'm like, yeah, Victoria from the previous, and from the ZodWriter show, from the radio days. I'm so hyped. This is what it's all about. This is the kind of show that I like doing. It wasn't the ZodWriter show without Victoria. It never was. It was. It felt like
say that.
it felt like something different, and I just I don't know. It felt like just Zod monologuing and mumbling. Koopy Malik says, hey there, Papa Brad. And Koopy Malik says hi to Buttersoft. And Papa Brad's Gaming says, hello, Neil before Zod. Papa, you are awesome. Man, you did a great video earlier today, man. Awesome stuff. Buttersoft says, thank you. I feel the same. With love in her eyes. Buttersoft is one of the most amazing people. I swear. Buttersoft is literally salt of the earth. She is incredible. I can't say that enough. And maybe I'm not gonna say, oh, gee, maybe we could get Buttersoft to come on Cyber Love Talk with us. No, 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 I'm not going to think in that direction. But what I will say is Buttersoft is absolutely amazing. And Buttersoft says, Victoria is the bomb. I remember listening to you all on PSN Radio. Yep, PSN Radio. You see?
Oh,
If you remember PSN
I'm
Radio.
so humbled. Like this is amazing that you built me up like that, and I'm so glad I'm back. Like to do this
I
for
am
you.
too. Oh my God, this is fantastic. This is Victoria, and let's see. Let's see. We got Koopy Malik saying, "Ever imagined Pac-Man using adult toys?" No, Koopy, but thank you for that mental image, because now I can't get it out of my head. So there it is. I'm imagining it. I'm imagining it now.
I'm imagining people using Pac-Man as an adult toy, if that makes any sense.
See, now that right there is a Cyber Love Talk response.
Yeah,
see?
that is.
When you that's what we need the thumbnail for the first episode of Cyber Love Talk to be of Pac-Man, chewing an adult toy. That's what we need.
Oh, the worst thing I ever got was I got it was a ghost from the Mario and Luigi game, and it was for my son, and there was space enough to do something with it, and I was just like, I don't want to give this to my child.
Okay. That's a clip from Cyber Love Talk, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get it twisted. That is exactly the kind of discussion that right there would have opened up an hour of discussion. what she just said right there. It literally, wow. And Buttersoft says, "Hi, Koopy Malik," and then says, "Victoria has that Zaza Zoom." Hey.
Well, thank you. I don't know much how Zoom I have left, but I'm trying. Because it's rather late for me.
Well, you're trying to. Well, yeah, it is rather late, and you're trying to essentially go back and recount all of these amazing radio experiences that we had, and again, I think how we ought to do it is we ought to one of these. I would say sometime in November, what we ought to try to do is get Feisty and Amorza to come on an episode of Late Night with us.
Oh, that would be awesome.
And to basically just have a talk. We don't have to be on camera. We can all just have a discussion and essentially do episode 0. And George can join us too. That's not a problem. I mean,
we're not bringing George into this. No way.
We have to include George in Cyber Love Talk 3.0. We just have to do it.
Well, he could be our
George can be our little mascot.
A little mascot, because he is so adorable. So
and we could essentially bring, we could have. There's so many things we could do. My God, my creative juices are flowing on a level right now that would literally be illegal at this point. Like it's just ridiculous.
Wow.
I'm bursting with all this. Oh my God, it's just ridiculous. Buttersoft says round 2. Speaking of Cyber Love Talk, it would actually be
3.
It would be the third reboot. It would actually essentially be Cyber Love Talk 3.0. But we wouldn't put 3.0. We would just call it Cyber Love Talk, since we would be coming back. We would be bringing it back as a completely new thing. And Buttersoft also says, "Oh, look at the fur baby." Oh, and Buttersoft, I can totally hear your voice, your beautiful professional voice.
Oh, he's a rescue.
Saying something like that. Oh my God.
He's a rescue, and he has little brown feet, and he's so cute. Like the rest of him is white and black, but his little booties, he's got little booties. So, he's adorable. and he wants to go for a walk. That's why he's bugging me.
Oh, there we go.
He was sitting by me the whole time, and now he's starting to go like, "Hey."
So George is getting impatient.
Yeah, George is getting impatient, like every other man in my life. You know.
Well, I don't, I think we've got. I think we're on to something here, Victoria. I don't know. I think we've got a blueprint.
Well, there's a lot of chemistry. Like I forgot, like you said at the beginning, how good our chemistry was, right? So this has been kind of enlightening.
Well, being able to talk on the on this level again has been fantastic. I mean, because there's so much that there's so many things that we would do where I was always very, very show minded. So when I would see something like on the news or online or on like social media or whatever, I would for the longest time I would see something and I would say to myself mentally, I would say, I've got to mention that to Victoria on the next show. I essentially was always in that frame of mind because there was always something we could talk about. And I know, like, leading up to this episode, I was so excited. I was like filled to the brim with ideas and different things that I wanted to talk about. And look at what we've been talking about this entire time. This just goes to show how important of a show Cyber Love Talk was to the both of us, because we've managed to spend all this time talking about that show. And I mean, right now it's like God, we have so many things we could be talking about, but yet we're always being reverted back to something that was important to us in such a magnificent way. And that's why I say, if we were still doing this show now, I think we would both be in different places, honestly.
Well, I'm just so happy I got to come on the show and hang out with you, because it's been a very long time, and it's been important to me to reconnect.
So I guess now that we've kind of addressed all of that about us talking and the chemistry that we have, and the fact that we're able to keep talking to each other and not get bored and not have any dead air. I mean, are we gonna? Is this something that you would like to continue doing, or is this something that
I would be into doing this. I just don't know right now if I can do it every week, but I would definitely be into being on the show at least once a month at this point. And we can talk about the logistics later.
Yeah, we'll discuss it. We'll discuss it. I'm trying to bring, like, this particular show, Late Night Q&A, I'm trying to branch it out and have as many guests on from week to week as I can. And I definitely could see this being something that you come back to, like you said, if you come back once a month or whatever you decide to do is good with me. I'm perfectly fine with that, because I know that anytime you come on, it will be a fun conversation.
Well,
it'll be a good time.
You know what? I didn't realize how much I missed it until I came on today. So yeah.
And Buttersoft says, I've always told Zod that I love you all's chemistry. Where he would stop, you'd pick up. The perfect duo.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind.
And see, that's exactly what I've been thinking this entire time. But again, I think that'd be a good idea. And you and I are going to also we'll also discuss behind the scenes, what we've been talking about this entire show.
So too. I have had the greatest time.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. And you know what? On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and end tonight's Late Night Q&A with ZodWriter featuring Victoria. Next week, I'm going to have a guy on that I've wanted to interview for quite some time. He's a pretty big YouTuber in the retro home arcade community. He is none other than Retro Ralph. And Retro Ralph will be joining me next week here on the ZodWriter Show for episode, well, not ZodWriter Show, but Late Night Q&A with ZodWriter, episode 28. So that's what we have planned for next week, and then we are going to work out the logistics about whenever Victoria can come back, and we'll see what happens. And Koopy Malik says, "Why don't you try it, Zod? Do 2 or 3 shows, and you can look how the viewer reaction is to it." Oh well, yeah, of course. I mean, if we're talking about Cyber Love Talk, yeah, I could totally see that. And Papa Brad's Gaming says, later I will watch on replay. Retro Ralph is super cool. Yes, Retro Ralph is super cool. I can't wait to have Retro Ralph on, so we'll be doing that next week. And I want to say thank you to you, Victoria, for being here tonight. It was a pleasure as always.
Oh, thank you. I adore you. We're you're one of my best friends. So
I feel the same about you. It's amazing. It's amazing just how much fun this was just to talk about Cyber Love Talk for an hour and a half. It's been amazing. And I hope, and I just really, I got all these like warm and fuzzy feelings right now, and I'm really exploding with all kinds of positive energy. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, good night. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being in the chat, and I'll see you guys next time. Stay safe, everybody. Good night.